What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering some I don't work here lady. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all really helps out our channel. I had some people in the comments yesterday saying, oh, I missed some of your I don't work here lady posts, so I thought I'd throw one out there just to keep you pleased, just to keep you happy, you know, all that good stuff. And with that being said, let's get into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from Immortali. Woman grabs my girlfriend and I snap. So me and my girlfriend were out just trying to enjoy our day. So we go to a local bookstore. It's a small place and the owners are friends of my girlfriend's family, and we help out every now and again, so we have a key to get in when they're closed. A woman sees us opening the door and asks if we're open. I tell her we're just running errands for the owners and that the store isn't open. She gets upset at me, demanding we let her in. It's just me, you're not going to get sick from one person, or some shit like that. My girlfriend tries to tell her we can't let anyone in because then we'd have to let everybody in and we aren't the owners. So the woman goes to snatch the key from my girlfriend and grabs her wrist. My girlfriend is having a panic attack. I should mention my girlfriend has PTSD and anxiety issues. So I grab the woman's wrist and pressure point her to get her to let go of my girlfriend and shove her and start berating her, using pretty colourful language. She tackles me and I punch her. Cops are called by some passerby and I guess they come over and tear her off me and ask what the hell happened. Woman tries to argue we assaulted her and that she was just trying to pick up a book for her son. We tell him to check the cameras for the store because we know there are cameras watching the door that see almost into the street. He proceeds to arrest the woman. I get a warning to not be so aggressive next time and my foster's called. I'm 16. Now I'm grounded for fighting and can't leave the house for a month. I love the initial, it's just me, she says at the start, like, okay then, pop on in. It's just like, who the hell are you? And just because it's just you doesn't mean you don't have the virus. Our next story comes from Vagrant. I'm not in the military, show off. This was years ago. My husband was in the army on his second enlistment, 5 or 6 years total at this point. He'd already been through a couple of deployments by this point. We were at a new base overseas and I'd gotten a job at the after school care facility on post. Well, his unit was getting ready to deploy for 6 months, so they were in the thick of all that. The chaplain was having a pre-deployment meeting for all the spouses to talk about the changes to expect while our spouses are deployed, from practical issues to emotional stuff to disruptions in routine. Bear in mind, this was back when, if you were really lucky, you maybe got a 10-minute call from your spouse once a month, maybe an email as well. Letters were still more common than anything. Now both my husband and I are pretty easygoing, and we've both been through a couple of deployments, so I already knew the drill, what to expect, how to manage, etc. So I decided not to bother with the meeting. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic resource for spouses, and they would do a post-deployment one as well to help everyone transition back to normal life with their spouses, but I didn't feel the need to attend. A couple of days later, my husband shows up at my workplace and tells me he's been ordered by his lieutenant to bring me to the spouses meeting. This was a second lieutenant who was fresh out of OCS, was not prior enlisted. My husband had socks older than this guy's terms of military service. For those who don't know, a second lieutenant is the lowest ranked officer. They're the noobs and it's very common for them to think that they know it all and act accordingly. This guy was one of those. I was highly peeved, but not for one moment did I blame my husband. I could tell he was annoyed as well, and I knew that since it was a direct order he had to obey it. I thought for a minute and asked him to hang on a minute so I could talk to my boss. Now school was set to let out soon and they needed me there because of adult/child ratio requirements, but I explained the situation to my boss and told her that I'll be back as soon as possible. She understood the situation and said she'd fill in for me until I could get back. She was cool that way, and everyone on base, if they weren't military, was the spouse of one, due to being on overseas base. They all knew and understood when stuff like this came up. Very rarely you'd get the random GS employee civilian on post, but yeah, that was highly unusual. So I left with my husband, but instead of going to the chaplain's meeting, I told him to take me to his building where the second lieutenant was. He knew what I was up to and happily complied. Arrived at the lieutenant's office, knocked and went in while my husband stood in the hall. Asked him why I had ordered my husband to fetch me from my job that I was needed at. He rather pompously mansplained to me that this was a required function and that I needed to attend. Oh, I let him have it. I didn't raise my voice much, but I informed him in no uncertain terms that he had no authority whatsoever to order me to do anything. I was not in the military, not subject to his whims, and while he was able to order my husband to come and get me, he could not order me to go to this meeting. He tried interjecting at this point to say that I needed to go so that I would learn stuff about how to handle my husband being on deployment. At this point I nearly blew my top. I spent more time with my husband being in the field and on deployments than you spent in the military. My husband does not own me, he cannot force me to do anything, and neither can you. I will not be attending this meeting, and you will not force my husband to take me there. I'm going back to my job, and if I hear that you tried to make his life miserable because of it, so help me, I will go up your chain of command and make sure you regret it. Now the building was not full, but it wasn't empty either. Oh, and the higher ups were in their offices pretty close by. They were also super cool cats. My husband might have been enlisted, but they respected the work he did, and he respected them. And this lieutenant had been getting on their nerves as well. So yeah, they could obviously hear what was going on, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. By the end of my tirade, the second lieutenant was nearly falling over himself to apologise. Sorry ma'am, I apologise ma'am, it won't happen again ma'am. He knew he was in the wrong, and by this point, he also knew I'd make a right royal stink if he tried to make me do anything, or tried to punish my husband for my actions, or lack thereof. I left, and my husband took me back to my job, grinning like a fool. I was still pretty enraged at this point, but was cooling off pretty rapidly. For a few weeks afterwards, I was actually concerned there might be a fallout from my husband because of what I did, but there wasn't. At least, not more than the usual BS he dealt with on a daily basis. It was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Like I said, I'm pretty laid back normally, but I will get steamed off on other people's behalf. The problem is I almost never have the opportunity or right to get involved, and I recognise that sometimes doing so will definitely make bad worse. So having this opportunity was just golden. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that situation, just to see his face slowly turn from authoritarian to bitch. What do you guys think of that story? I know there's a few of you that are spouses of people in the military as well, so let me know if you've ever had any similar situation. Our next story is from Blissfully Taken. Mistaken for the tour guide at my own bachelorette party. Obligatory on my mobile, English isn't my first language, but it is a close second. I speak fluently enough, so please let me know if I made any errors. My husband and I were looking at wedding photos, and were reminded of this. A wholesome, I don't work here lady. Some background, I recently got married to my dear husband last January, before virus exploded. My husband and I work in Japan, but we're both expats, so we kept our wedding guest list short and limited to our immediate family and close friends, because our families would have to fly here just to attend. It's a big ask. My husband and I are also very introverted, we don't drink, we're not very fond of parties, and we're both very close to our immediate families. So we thought, instead of having a bachelor or bachelorette party, why not host a dinner for our respective families? We both agreed, and our families liked the idea too. They wanted to spend time with us on the last night before we officially married. He and his family went to another restaurant, and me and mine went to another. My family is composed of my parents, my brothers and my sister-in-laws, my aunts and my uncles. On to the scene. My family and I went to this Chinese restaurant at the hotel we were staying at. My family loves Chinese food, so we thought it'd be a great choice. We had a whole room reserved for our table, so we had some privacy. We're in a room. We had one head waitress who was the liaison between our party and the waitstaff. She spoke Japanese, and I could also speak Japanese, but my family could not. So I sat there at the end of the long table so it was easier to talk to the staff, because I did a lot of translating back and forth between my family and her. If she asked a question, I would translate for my family and relay the answers to her in Japanese. If my family had a question, it was the same deal. When the third dish was served, she came to ask me a question about the fourth dish. Me, W head waitress, bro, my brother. The waitress said, should we serve the fourth dish individually, or should we let everyone decide how much to put on their plate? I said, individually please, thank you. She said, okay. She made a note in her order tablet. By the way, this party is for the wedding tomorrow, right? I said, yeah, we're all really excited. Everybody flew from another country, and it's been stressful, but it's finally tomorrow. She gestures to my brother and sister-in-law, who are coincidentally sitting at the centre of the long table. Are they the lucky couple? They look so good together. I said, I'm the bride-to-be. She was quiet for a full 20 seconds, and I felt so bad for her, so I laughed it off. And I said, but I agree, they do look good together. They've been married for a good 4 years already. She sighed, hopefully in relief. She said, I'm sorry, I thought you were the tour guide. I said, it's okay, don't worry about it. Then she excused herself to take care of the fourth dish. My brother said, what was that about? Is there a problem? I said, she thought you and your wife were the ones getting married tomorrow. He said, oh, you probably look like the tour guide for our group. Yeah, that's what she said. Do I really look like the tour guide? I mean, everybody's paired off. You're the only one without a partner, and you're the only one who can speak Japanese. You've been talking to her about everyone's orders and basically running around. I have. We told our family that conversation and everybody had a good laugh. I made sure I went to talk to a head waitress after to make sure she was alright. She was. I also made sure to talk to the manager to let him know that his staff was exemplary. We don't give tips in Japan, but I would have tipped her so much if I could. Thanks for reading my story. I felt bad for the head waitress in this story. I might get shot down in this one, but from what I know of East Asian cultures, when they make mistakes like that, they get really, really embarrassed, and it sort of plays on their mind, and you can see it in their face if they make a simple mistake like that. So I feel extremely bad for that situation too. I'd want to make sure she was okay, you know. But I love a wholesome story like this. Just a simple mistake, you know, and everybody has a good laugh from it. That's the sort of thing that we need to just balance off this channel once in a while, you know. What do you guys think of the story? Let me know in the comments below. Our next story is from DM Feyre, Costco Karen. I work in an office with a fairly high security. We have to wear a lanyard that says staff when we're at the office, and with our picture and name tag attached to it. I tend to be a pretty forgetful person, so I wear mine all the time and only remove it once I get home and put it on a hook beside the door so I know I won't forget it. I usually go shopping after work. So one day I'm at Costco doing my shopping and I run over to another aisle as I realise I got the wrong types of something or other from the frozen section. So I exchange them and I'm walking back towards where my boyfriend is with a cart. Then I hear fingers snapping and a woman calling, "Here, here!" I turn around because I'm curious and lock eyes with her, and she gestures me over. I don't recognise her, but I also don't want to be rude, so I go over. She's on her phone. I say, "Can I help you?" I ask her. "How much is this?" I don't know, I tell her, kind of confused to why she's asking me. She looks at me like I'm an idiot, her eyes bulging out. "I'm on the phone," she says. I'm just standing there holding my mini quiches or whatever, wondering why she called me over and who she is. I'm also wondering why she's telling me she's on the phone when I can see that perfectly well. Okay, I tell her and start turning around to walk away. She starts tutting, which I'm really confused by, and I turn back around. She's looking at me expectantly, and honestly, I've been working all day and this is confusing the hell out of me, so I just tell myself to ignore her and I start walking away again. She does a weird tut or hissing sound, but I ignore her and keep walking. She runs up to me with her cart and taps me on the shoulder. "Why aren't you helping me?" She whisper screams at me. "Why would I help you?" I ask her. I'm genuinely so confused by this entire interaction. She points to my lanyard that says staff and it finally clicks into place. Oh, I say, "I don't work here." I swear the look on her face, she was horrified. She apologised to me like 6 times and I was finally able to go back to my boyfriend, where he told me I got the wrong thing from the frozen section again. Oops. I like the ending there. But even though she said sorry in the end, the fact that she was finger clicking you and snapping you like a dog. She was calling you over like a dog. I'd have ignored her from that point on. I know you was confused, obviously. But that she treats staff, that's the way she thinks it's the right way to treat staff. Some people, man, I don't know how they can do this. How they can just finger click people and call them over in a store and treat staff that way. Unbelievable. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's stories. If you did, you know what to do. Click that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And there's another video on your screen right now. If you fancy a little binge, why the hell not, right? Just have a chill out. It's on me. It's on me. Just relax. And I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.